No Aether Vial, but we do have Giver into Thalia into Archon, so we'll keep. And then revealing Allurus, which could mean several things at this point. We'll have Thalia turn 2 guaranteed, even through Thoughtseize. Blackcleave Cliffs looks like Jund. And there's the Thoughtseize. I imagine they'll take the Archon. Okay, just as I wrote it up. So I'm wondering here, am I actually supposed to attack with Giver of Ruins here? I have 2 Thalias, so if one gets removed by one of their spells, is that really a big deal? And Giver can't protect itself, so should I just be attacking here? And now should I be playing the Stoneforge Mystic instead of the Thalia? I feel like I still want to play the Thalia here. So I'm going to go ahead and attack because I have 2 Thalias. So if they want to spend a turn and a removal spell to get rid of this one, that's fine. And next turn I'll be able to keep the Giver as protection for the Stoneforge Mystic to bring an equipment into play on the cheap. Probably Batterskull. Okay, here's the Inquisition, take my Stoneforge. But I'll be able to attack in for 3 excuse me, for 3 damage. Okay, we get land, so we can play Flickerwisp. So we'll want to protect the Flickerwisp as a large source of damage. So we'll just attack with Thalia, and then we can blink it. Now, we could be punished here if Modern had a card like Snuff Out. I guess they could Gutshot the Flickerwisp, but I don't see Jund playing Gutshot. Now I'm curious. We've seen 3 Blackcleave Cliffs here. The spells that we've seen really lean towards Jund, but we haven't seen any green mana yet. Okay, here's a Kroxa. We'll discard our extra Thalia, no problem. And then we'll be attacking for 5. We got Ghost Quarter here. Kind of feel like I want to draw a card with a Sunbaked Canyon. And I think that Ghost Quarter is the land to do it with. If we draw a 2-drop, it could be quite good. Do we want to do this pre-combat? Not really sure. Let's go ahead and draw a card. Okay, we get Plains. So we'll attack for 5 and leave the Giver back. Really, guys? Come on now. Wonder if there's a way to keep those kinds of comments out of the chat. Some sort of bot or something. Okay, so here's a basic swamp. Still no green mana. They could be doing a Rakdos thing. If they bring the Kroxa back, we'll really be looking for a Skyclave Apparition. Gonna have to do a little bit of research on how the apparition works with, okay. So, if we protect the Flickerwisp, they could kill the Thalia. Well, that would cost them a mountain, so they can't do that. Let's go ahead and try and protect the Flickerwisp from red. It'll counter this one spell anyway. They'll have to use another. And it also costs double mana, so I'm fine with this resource trade. Seems quite advantageous to me. Okay, here's a lightning bolt on the Giver of Ruins. That's fine. I think they should have used that opportunity to kill another threat like the Thalia. Now I get to keep my damage-dealing creatures. Let's see what we draw. Aether Vial. Useless. Alright, well, we'll attack for 5 and then play the Vial. No reason to Ghost Quarter here. So they'll need a mountain in order to flash back the lava dart. More and more, it's looking like a straight up Rakdos build, no green. That probably means that it's running Scourge, but why would Scourge be running a Blackcleave Cliffs? Well, I suppose if they had been doing themselves damage the entire time with their lands, then they'd be dead. So maybe they're smart. And they just realize that decks in this format are going to deal them damage regardless. Okay. Yes, I would like to put a counter on Aether Vial. And I find Field of Ruin. Really like spells, you know. Alright, let's attack in for 3, put them to 2. And we'll play the Field of Ruin and pass. So Mountain no longer kills my Flickerwisp. They got rid of the Lava Dart to play the Kroxa. So they'll need removal spell with their 4 cards in hand. Or they're dead. I don't think there's any advantage to using field here, honestly. I'm sure they'll have another basic in the deck. I'm sure they have basic Mountain because we saw the Lava Dart. Okay, here's Culligan's Command. So there's nothing we can do about that. If they attack, they're dead. Okay, we find Giver of Ruins. So again, they'll need removal spell here. I wonder, if we use Field and Ghost Quarter, would we destroy a land? And we could separate it between phases. Because they probably have mountain, but do they have 2 mountains? Do they have 2 swamps? I doubt it. Okay, I suppose we can just go quarter now. Yeah, they don't bother tapping it for mana. Oh, looks like they do have another basic. Okay, good to know. So they have at least 3 basic lands. One of the advantages to only running 2 colors here. Scourge, no problem. We can just give the Thalia protection from black. So they need a Fatal Push here. Okay, that blocks the Thalia. So now we need Path to Exile to remove the Scourge of the Skyclaves. If we draw Path, we win. Otherwise, we lose. It's another Giver. So what could we do here? We could play the Giver. We can block twice. Let's see if we can survive another turn here. We can block both the Kroxa and the Scourge. And then give the Thalia pro red. So we're still in the game here, still presenting lethal for next turn. They have to consider their attack wisely here. Considering the cards in hand, they could attack with Kroxa and one of the Swift Spears. Or they could attack with Kroxa, Scourge, and Swift Spear. If they have Bolt here, they just win. Okay, they're putting the Luris into hand. They have 1 mana left. The Thalia will prevent them from casting any spells. So they probably attack with Kroxa and Scourge. No, that would be a loss. They want to attack with Kroxa and Swift Spear, maybe? No, that would be a loss as well. They have a tough turn here. If we keep both of our Giver of Ruins, we win. They have to attack. If they only attack with Kroxa, they die. Okay, so this could go get another basic. And they could have removal spell, like a Fatal Push, maybe. That would probably win. Oh, the suspense is killing me. Looking for a Path to Exile or a Skyclave Apparition from the top of the deck. Let's see what happens in combat here. Okay, so they're attacking with only the Kroxa. So they have 2 types of creatures left over. We're going to want to block, I think, with the Thalia. We could block with this Giver of Ruins here, and then try and give it protection from a color. Okay, we'll give it protection from red, and see if they have a spell. Okay, looks like nothing so far. Do we win here? And we draw Path to Exile off the top. Okay. So we can give the Thalia protection from red, and then the Path should be able to clear the way if they have anything left over. Pro red. Pro black. Okay, they could still have Cling to Ash. Okay, no. We got there. Whew. That was tight, huh? Okay, so what are we going to do against the Death Shadow deck? I think we want more removal in Winds of Abandon. The Mirran Crusader could be good. It would block a Shadow all day. Burrenton Forge-Tender seems okay. Blocks Kroxa. Rest in Peace would also take care of Kroxa. And it would also be good with Lurrus. Or rather good to counter the Lurrus. But then we're bringing in a lot of cards at this point. I feel like the winds are a definite include. Being able to take their creatures off the board, exile them, is very important. So we have 4 paths, 4 Skyclave Apparitions, and 4 Winds of Abandon. As for cards to be taking out, perhaps the Flickerwisps would be the best card to take out, especially if they're running Lava Dart. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I'm back. Let's get started. Looks like our opponent also took a moment to step away from the keyboard. Okay, we're here. We got a Aether Vial set up for turn 1. We unfortunately have 2 of our equipment in our hand to start. Not ideal. Do we keep this? We have Sunbaked Canyon to draw a card. I'm going to keep. We'll see what happens. Perhaps a turn 1 Thoughtseize here. Swift Spear instead. Okay, so we'll be taking 1, and then we'll start with Aether Vial, because Aether Vial turn 1. That's how you do it. Okay, Leonin Arbiter, excellent draw. We can play that on our next turn. An even better card on the play, but it'll do just fine. Oh, well, Thoughtseize, so I wonder what they'll take here. Will depend a lot on what they have left in their hand. I imagine it will be one of the 2 creatures. I don't think they're going to be taking an equipment. Whatever creature we're left with, we can play the Maul of Skyclaves on turn 3 and have a serious threat to attack in the air. Okay, they get rid of the Arbiter, makes sense. And we'll take 2. Do they have no lands? Looks like they have no lands. Okay, we draw Winds of Abandon. That will give them a land. We don't want to play that yet. We're going to play the Plains, and we'll use the Aether Vial to bring the Giver of Ruins in at an opportune moment. We probably won't risk blocking the Swiftspear. They could easily have any number of things in hand. If they don't have lands, they have spells, and this deck plays a lot of 1-drops. So they could have Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt. No problem there. Okay, we'll just take 1, that's fine. And if they Thoughtseize or Inquisition here, we'll put the Giver of Ruins into play with Aether Vial. This is my first time using an Aether Vial. Imagine that. Yes, we definitely want to use the Aether Vial's ability. Oh, it looks like they have something here. Fatal Push. To kill the Giver of Ruins. Yep, that happens. Nothing I can do about that. And we find another land. Bogus. So I'm thinking I probably want to draw a card here. I could also play the Sword of Fire and Ice. Maybe we just play the sword instead. I think I keep the Aether Vial at 2 at this point. We have plenty of lands if we want to do something else, but Flickerwisp isn't going to do us any good here. So we'll keep it at 2 and hope we draw a Thalia or Stoneforge. Okay, down to 12. And they've got a Seal of Fire. So that'll kill most of our creatures. And they've got 2 of them with different arts. You animal. Okay, so we'll say no to the trigger here. And we draw a 2-drop. It will be wrecked by the Seal of Fire, unfortunately. We could Winds of Abandon the Swiftspear, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I don't think we play the Thalia into the Seal of Fire. Those seals are a pain. Probably draw a card. Okay, we draw a land. So we'll use the Aether Vial later to put a Thalia into play. But we're going to keep the Winds of Abandon for a more serious threat. Okay, they're Cling to Dust to draw a card and give the Swiftspear prowess. We would not want to block that with our Thalia anyway. Okay, a Lightning Bolt. puts us to 9. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, putting us to 2. I doubt they'll use the Seal of Fire now. Oh, well, no, they went ahead and did it right away. I would have figured they would have waited. Okay, we get an Arbiter now. So we could put the Arbiter into play and then use the Maul, but they'll just hit it with Seal of Fire. Oops, cancel that. We're going to just put it straight into play. Yeah, those Seal of Fires are working pretty well for opponent. We'll just use the Seal of Fire right now. Okay. We are still going to keep the Winds of Abandon in hand. Swift Spirit could be killing us here, though. We might actually need to kill it. If they get a couple of spells, we're just dead. So we're going to pull the trigger. Unfortunately, that does give them third land for Lurrus, and Lurrus Seal of Fire is going to close out the game very quickly. I would be surprised if they did nothing here, but they do have 4 cards in hand, so they could have plenty of answers for whatever we have. Okay, looks like they're just going to sit on their heels and answer whatever we get. Wondering if we want to go up to 3 here now. Oh, they have something. Is this Colligan's Command? Okay. Oh, they're destroying Sophie. And getting rid of my Maul. Oh, that's quite good. Okay, we get Stoneforge Mystic. So we can play that in response to something. Well, if they have Thoughtseize, then the Stoneforge Mystic would die anyway. Or rather, the equipment that it searches up. But I think that I still wait till end of turn. And then go get Batterskull, which I believe is the last equipment in our deck. Okay, Cling to Dust on Sophie. So it looks like they are playing 2 Cling to Dust. And Mishra's Bauble. Okay, looks like, yeah, they're targeting me, so they're going to see what I'm going to draw. But that's not actually what I'm going to draw, because I'm going to shuffle the deck with the Stoneforge Mystic. So that information they have now is useless. Target player sacrifices an artifact. Okay, so I'm going to use it. And go get Batterskull. And we're back in the game. So I'll sacrifice an artifact. I have one choice, but I get Batterskull. And another Stoneforge Mystic. That gets me nothing. I think I do play it, though, just to have another threat on the board. Or a chump blocker. And then I hold the Batterskull in hand. And I'll put it into play in response to something they do or at end of turn. We are still quite close to death, I'm sure. I'm surprised that they haven't put Lurrus into hand yet. but they probably felt like they had to continuously cast the spells in their hand instead of taking a turn off to put the Lurrus in hand. And I'll admit, taking a turn off here would be quite bad. Okay, let's see what they have here. Maybe another Culligan's Command. Maybe an Abrade. Unfortunately, we don't have enough mana to sit back and offer this a return to our hand. Okay, here's another Culligan's Command. And they get to know what we draw. And it's a Plains, so we might as well play it out. Alright, we'll hit them for 1 here and pass back. Okay, here's Kroxa, so we'll take 3 from that. And then we'll die when... oh, no, that's it. We're dead. Okay. Okay, so... do we want Rest in Peace? I don't think so. Do we want Forge-Tender? Again, I don't really think so. So I think we just keep going with what we have here. They do get quite a bit of value from the graveyard, but I don't think that it's on the level of Dredge. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to bring in the Rest in Peace. Okay, we'll take the play. See if we get Aether Vial in the opener. No Aether Vial and only 1 land. 1 land. We have to mulligan that. Okay, this is a better hand. We'll keep this. I think that we get rid of one of the lands and hope we draw another one. We'll have Giver into Stoneforge. I don't like giving up any of these creatures here. So we'll give up Field of Ruin and hope we draw land. And if we don't, then Stoneforge Mystic can put down Batterskull. Okay, this might be Thoughtseize. No, Seal of Fire. Okay, and they get rid of the Giver of Ruins right away. So Stoneforge Mystic is safe to come out. And we drew the land that we were looking for, so we can put out Mirran Crusader next turn. Mirran Crusader, unfortunately, does die to Seal of Fire and Lightning Bolt. Let's see here. Let's get Batterskull. And we have Skyclave Apparition for their first real threat. Not sure if I should be putting Batterskull or Mirran Crusader out next turn. The opponent might answer the question for me here, if they have a Fatal Push. Or a Lightning Bolt. Okay, Lightning Bolt is the better one for them to use this turn, for me. Now I can play the Mirran Crusader out. Oops. I seem to have skipped through part of my turn there. So here's a check to see if they have another Lightning Bolt or Seal of Fire. They're going to draw a card for it. No attacks, okay. And we get Path to Exile. So you have a couple options about how to play here. I would like to play the Skyclave Apparition to clear the way, and then attack with Mirran Crusader. I have the path to remove another threat later down the road, so I'm fine with using the Apparition to kill the Swiftspear. Okay, they need Lightning Bolt here to stop this Fatal Push. That'll work. So they can Fatal Push and block. Okay, they take the damage. Makes sense if they have another decent threat. They can play Skyclave here. Okay, they're putting Lurrus in hand, which will let them get the Seal of Fire back. So they'll need land, because we're going to play the Giver of Ruins. And we'll be able to path to exile their Lurrus when they put it into play. Sure. Kind of want to keep the Sunbaked Canyon in case we draw land next turn, so we can play the Batterskull. Okay, they did get a land here, so they can put the Seal of Fire into play. Okay, now I can keep the Path to Exile until their upkeep. But then I wouldn't be able to play the Batterskull. Oh, they're killing the Giver of Ruins with the Seal of Fire. That's a surprise. Okay. So I'm going to use the Path to Exile here. Get that out of the way. They won't be able to bring the Seal of Fire back. And we'll keep the land in case we draw land. Okay, we draw land. So we'll attack, and then we'll put Batterskull into play. Okay, so we're looking at 8 damage. That's not quite lethal yet. Put them to 1, potentially. But I'm sure they've got something here. They're cycling the Unearth. Okay. Hey, there we go. We won. Let's see here. We've got lands and spells. Looks like we have a nice curve. I would like to keep this hand. Okay, so this could be a couple of things. We'll have to keep on playing to find out which. Could be spirits. Okay, we only have 1 play, so we'll make it and pass back. We have nothing to do until our turn. Okay, that's an island. So we're thinking probably spirits at this point. And they passed again. Spirits has a lot of flash things. So do we play the Arbiter to keep them from searching and fetching, or the Stoneforge Mystic? I'm leaning towards Stoneforge Mystic here. Definitely. And we have protection for it with the Giver of Ruins. Okay, they're depriving it, so that's a countered spell. Might as well attack with the Giver of Ruins here. The Deprive. Pretty good play from the opponent, but they have lost tempo. Okay, another basic island. And Spreading Seas. Okay, that's fine. interesting that they chose the Ghost Quarter when I only had one white source available. So they must really want to keep certain lands around. I'm going to play probably the Archon here. I don't think I want to use Leonin Arbiter. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that they're going to be searching their library. And we'll see if we can protect this with the Giver of Ruins, so we will not attack. Fairy Conclave, okay. And their one spell is a Master of the Pearl Trident. We can clear the way with Skyclave Apparition. Get that Lord off the table. And we have Ghost Quarter to get rid of the Fairy Conclave with Leonin Arbiter. So we probably won't want to Ghost Quarter the Fairy Conclave this turn. We'll probably want to wait till the turn after so we can get Arbiter into play. But I do believe we absolutely want to use the Apparition here and get the Master of the Pearl Trident off the board. That's also going to be giving future Merfolk Island Walk, and we have an island here. So I don't think we attack with the Giver of Ruins this turn. We'll play the Ghost Quarter. And we can Ghost Quarter our own Ghost Quarter to get rid of our island here. But I would like to get rid of that Fairy Conclave. I don't think that's as important. We'll see. Wait and see what they have to play here. Another Merfolk, a Master of the Pearl Trident, so we should get rid of this island. Turn off Island Walk. And we get a Thalia. So we'll attack with our two creatures here. And if they block the Skyclave Apparition, we'll give it Pro Blue. I doubt they'll block. And we can put two blockers out ourselves. The Thalia will be quite nice at preventing them from performing any tricks. And we'll play the Arbiter too. Oh, we can only play one spell per turn, of course. I forgot about that. We might draw a card then. They do have a lot of creature lands here. And they're playing the Mimic, which is going to be another Master of the Pearl Trident. So now they have 3/3s. We can easily block here, but further attacks are going to be awkward. Let's draw a card. Okay, we get another Arbiter. We have plenty of Arbiters. And a Flickerwisp. So we could flicker the Skyclave Apparition, and that would get another Merfolk of the Pearl Trident off the board, and they would only have one Lord instead of two. And we could also attack with them, and that way, if they block, the other Merfolk is going to die. That seems fine. Let's move to combat. So we attack with these. I'm not sure we attack with everything though, because if they block one on each, that could be troublesome. We would lose a creature, and we wouldn't get much value from it. So I think we keep the Thalia back. Give it Pro Blue. And then we'll Flickerwisp it. Now I'm not sure if it's going to kill this other Master of the Pearl Trident or not. because it comes back at end of turn. I'm not sure if damage will have fallen off yet. Looks like damage is still there. So we can get rid of this, and that'll get rid of both of the lords. Perfect. Pretty satisfied with the way that play turned out. Now we're attacking for 5 in the air. They do have blockers in the Fairy Conclaves, but they can only activate one of them. And Mutavault does not block Thalia very well. Stoneforge Mystic is a pretty good draw here. So let's take a moment to consider our attacks. We definitely attack with the Archon. The Skyclave Apparition is a maybe. I think we attack with the Thalia and the Flickerwisp. If they want to trade a Fairy Conclave for the Flickerwisp, then I can just protect it with the Giver. I'll attack like this. It might be wrong to hold the Apparition back, but I'm not sure. I mean, that can't block Thalia, so... I mean, it can, but it's going to be negative. You could double block Thalia, I suppose. That would be pretty good. So that's probably what they're setting up to do. Double block Thalia, block Flickerwisp. So I could give Flickerwisp a Pro Blue to save it, or I could give Thalia Pro Blue to save it. I think I save the Flickerwisp here to keep flying damage going. And then I want to kill probably the Illusion. No, I want to kill the Mutavault because that's a Merfolk. Okay. Give this Pro Blue. And then I'll put Stoneforge Mystic onto the board. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if I actually want to grab Batterskull here. The Maul actually seems quite nice to give my Skyclave Apparition flying. Would allow it to start attacking next turn. So let's go ahead and grab the Maul, and we'll pass back. We still have plenty of life. I don't think we need to be bringing Batterskull into the equation. Hey, there we go. We got there. Let's go to sideboards. So we're playing against Merfolk. We're going to want more removal, to be sure. Phyrexian Revoker could potentially name Aether Vial, but that's a card we're playing, so we don't really want to do that. Rest in Peace is bad. The Relic-Warder is bad. Mindcensor doesn't seem very good in this matchup. Neither does Mirran Crusader. So it looks like most of our sideboard doesn't do anything, but fortunately we do have 2 Winds of Abandon. Cards we can take out, I'm thinking Thalia, number 1. Leonin Arbiter is also a card we could take out. But I think Arbiter works better with the Path to Exiles, so we'll take out a couple Thalias. They're not going to be playing very many spells at all, so I think Thalia is fine for a cut. But nothing else in the sideboard is as good as Thalia, so we'll keep the other 2 in the deck. Oh, just noticed our opponent praising our play. I think we still do keep this. We have Arbiter and Path, so I think it's fine, but the hand is fairly weak. Okay, Fairy Conclave. Let's go ahead and take our turn. See if we draw a 1-drop. We don't. So we'll just play Plains and hold up Path to Exile if they show us a Lord this turn. Then we'll go ahead and... I think we'll actually end up holding off on the path until we get an Arbiter down regardless. Play the Arbiter first, so that way next turn we could path into Thalia. Okay, that's not really a card that we want to be killing. Sword of Ice and Fire. I think I would like to play that. And we'll just pass. If we can equip the sword onto the Arbiter, that'll be quite nice for next turn. And then we can just start killing their creatures. Okay, a Dismember. There's nothing we can do about that. That works. Okay, there's the Master that we knew about. So we're probably playing Leonin Arbiter into Path to Exile to get the Master off the board. The clock is quite quick here, so we are going to have to get through this very quickly. Okay, they have another Lord. That's a problem. And we get another land. Okay, so we're going to play the Arbiter. And then we'll get rid of one of their Lords. We'll do it now because this way they cannot search. And we'll pass. Now, if we can get that Sword of Fire and Ice onto the Arbiter, we're going to be in a pretty good place. They would be able to block it with the Smuggler's Copter, but that would be the only thing that could block it. Okay, so this is going to copy the Master of the Pearl Trident, and they're going to continue swinging in for damage, and now the Sword of Fire and Ice will no longer kill a Lord, because it's a 3/3. So this is 14 damage, which is lethal. No, sorry, 10 damage. Okay. But 10 damage would put us to 4. So Smuggler's Copter would be near lethal in itself. We have no good blocks, though. And we get another land. Unfortunate. Let's go ahead and concede. Oh, maybe we should just draw a card and see what it is. Let's draw a card first. Drawing cards are good. We get a flyer, but that's not going to do anything. Let's concede. Move on to game 3. We're going to keep it the same. Really don't think that any of the cards in their sideboard here are going to help us. And we'll definitely take the play. Okay, this hand seems excellent. We'll keep. Get that Aether Vial onto the board. Next turn, play Stoneforge Mystic. Probably get Batterskull. And then just start gaining life. We have Skyclave Apparition plus Flickerwisp to take their Lords off the table. Let's see if we draw a 1-drop here. We do not. That's fine. We'll play the Mystic. Next turn we can play Apparition. Okay, yes, I want Batterskull, please. Sword of Fire and Ice could also be quite good. Let's get Batterskull. That might be wrong. Maybe I was supposed to get Sword of Fire and Ice just because it kills their creatures so well. But this is my first league with Death and Taxes, so this is all still quite new to me. We're really going to be looking to draw a 2-drop here. Now, Apparition takes care of that, right? Exile 1 non-land, non-token permanent. So yeah, I can get rid of the Smuggler's Copter, no problem. Let's see what we draw now. Path to Exile. Okay. That's interesting. So we can put the Batterskull into play and hold up Path to Exile this turn. That seems like the best thing. Let's do that. And then next turn we can look at Apparition and Flickerwisp and stuff like that. When Aether Vial ticks up to 3, we're going to start doing some fun stuff. Okay, they're putting something into play. Silvergale Adept. That's going to crew the Copter, and we'll Path to Exile the Copter before it attacks, but in the beginning of combat. So they do not get the trigger. They cannot draw discard. Okay, I think that's a fine trade. And now let's put Batterskull into play. Okay, Lord of Atlantis, we'll hit that with Skyclave Apparition. Fantastic. But we will give them the opportunity to block first if they would like. Okay, we get land. So we can play the Archon. Okay, we'll start with an attack. Gain some life. Now we have Aether Vial on 3, so we can Skyclave, and then with the trigger on the stack, we can Flickerwisp it, and then take the Aether Vial. And then they won't get a token for the Lord of Atlantis, I believe. Let's give this a shot. Okay, so that's just Exile. They get nothing from it. And we go ahead and go to the end step. This brings the token back, and we can get rid of either their other creature or their Aether Vial. I'm leaning towards the Aether Vial myself. It's going to slow them down as to how many things they can do per turn, especially if I put the Archon into play next turn. Now, the reason that worked, if you're not aware, is because the Skyclave Apparition has 2 separate triggers. So we were able to separate them and blink the Apparition in response to the first trigger going off. So the second trigger saw no cards and gave them no spirit. Very cool interaction, I think. Okay, so the Smuggler's Copter can trade with a Flickerwisp. Aether Vial is going to be a no. Just leave that at 3. Okay, we get another Apparition. Fantastic. So we probably wait until combat to put this into play with the Aether Vial and then put the Archon into play afterwards. I think it's fine to attack with the Apparition this turn. I think we attack with everything except for the Stoneforge Mystic. Now I'm thinking they'll probably activate the Smuggler's Copter here, and they do. So we can use the Apparition to take the Copter off the board. Okay, now they can block the Apparition with the Silvergill Adept and get themselves a 1/1, but that seems like a fine trade for me. And then we'll put the Archon into play second main to seal the deal. Okay. You can only cast one spell. Go. We're missing one land to equip the Batterskull onto a flyer. If we draw land, I think that that's exactly what we'll do. It would be blown out by Dismember, but Dismember would put them to 4. And then it would only take 2 hits from an Archon. Also, if we get land, Shefet Dunes is on the table. Let's see what we draw. We get Thalia. Okay. So they have 1 card in hand, and we could play Thalia to forestall whatever nonsense they could deploy during the combat step. So let's put that onto the field. It works. Okay, let's move to combat. We'll attack with the Batterskull, the Flickerwisp, and the Archon. If they double block the Batterskull, they lose 1 creature. They could actually single block it with a Mutavault and trade for it. And I won't be able to put it back into my hand this turn. I think that's still fine. Getting rid of one of their cards, gaining the life, I'm sure that's fine. Okay, so they do have something. Okay, they have a Trickster. Surprised they didn't wait until after I attacked. They're going to ground the Flickerwisp, so I can attack with the Archon for sure. As for the Germ, they could trade with the Merfolk Trickster here. I think I might want to keep it back as a blocker at this point. Not quite sure what I should do with the Germ. I think I do attack. It would trade with whatever it hits, and I think that's worthwhile. But the other creatures need to stay back. They have too many blockers, and that would go badly for me. So we'll trade with whatever they want for the Germ. And if we get another land, we can put the Germ onto the Archon. But otherwise, we still have lethal on the table with our flyers. Okay, they're looking for an answer. They're going to want another Trickster. Okay, no. And Aether Vial. Unfortunately, we already have 2 equipments in our hand, but we are going to keep. And that looks like we're playing against Storm, so the Apparition will be good to get rid of one of their Storm Lords, but unfortunately Megamult is on the play, so they'll be able to get the Storm Lord down and untapped before the Apparition is ready. So we're going to be hoping to draw Path to Exile. Okay, no path yet. We'll just play Aether Vial pass. Okay, there's the Electromancer. So we are in trouble. It's official. We want to draw Thalia here. Or Path to Exile. We get neither. So we have a big fat nothing. We're just going to play Stoneforge Mystic, get Sophie, and pass. Okay, Steam Vent's untapped, so they've still got some things to do. But if they pass back to us, we're going to use the Apparition to get rid of the Electromancer. Okay, it looks like they're storming off. Here's a Gifts Ungiven. They still have plenty of mana available, so this should be an easy win for the opponent. Okay, so we put the 2 rituals into the bin, but they'll still have enough mana with Manamorphose. I think this leaves them 1 mana left over, so they're able to recast their rituals. Yeah. If we had given them rituals in hand, they would have had more than enough mana to flash back the Past in Flames. But they still had exactly enough mana to go off if I put the Past in Flames into their hand. Okay, Storm count is at 11. They still have a ways to go, but they're able to Gifts Ungiven again, which will probably give them, I think, 2 rituals, a Grape Shot, and what? Maybe another Gifts Ungiven? Okay, that's about what I thought. So we'll put the Gifts Ungiven into the graveyard, and what? Probably the Grape Shot? Yeah, we don't want them casting that twice. But again, I'm pretty sure that we're in garbage time here. I just don't have quite enough experience to know that 100%, so we're just going to let the opponent do their thing. I'm sure that this Storm opponent won't fault us for letting them storm out. Okay, they have their second Stormlord, so they're taking 2 off of their spells. Gifts Ungiven only costs 2 mana at this point. But they're going to want to cast all the cards in their hand that they can, and then they'll... oh, no, here we go. Let's go ahead and concede so they don't have to deal with that garbage. They had a storm count of 20. Grape Shot was going to deal lethal there. Rest in Peace is coming in for sure. And then, let's see here. I don't think Forge-Tender is going to do any good here. That would only stop 1 trigger. We could Winds of Abandon as extra answers to their Stormlords. Let's see here. And that would also be an answer to Goblins, so let's bring that in for sure. We can take out what? I think the Archon is fine. The Archon is excellent. We definitely want to keep that in. The Arbiter doesn't seem very good. They're not going to do many fetch lands. Thalia is excellent. Giver of Ruins is only okay. Flickerwisp is okay. So we'll take out a Flickerwisp, a couple Archons, a couple Givers, and we'll call it a day. Okay. Let's see what we can do on the play. Okay, we've got lands and spells. The hand is not very good, though. We only have 3 spells, but we have 2 removal spells. If the Maul was a Rest in Peace, I would be totally for it, but as is, I'm not too impressed. Let's mulligan. Okay, we get Rest in Peace, Aether Vial. This hand is fine. Archon as well. We can put the Sword of Fire and Ice back into the library, so we'll keep. Start with Aether Vial into Rest in Peace. Okay, we unfortunately do not find a 1-drop, but a land is fine. That means we can for sure play the Archon next turn. We'll start with Rest in Peace and pass. It's going to be an excellent card. Unfortunately, it dies to Lightning Bolt. Okay, I might want to actually play the Apparition here to just get rid of their Stormlord. Tough choice. Tough choice. Because if they have Lightning Bolt for the Archon, they could storm off. I think I want to play the Apparition to get the Electromancer off the board, and then Aether Vial and Archon in later. I do want to get the Archon onto the field, but I felt like getting the Electromancer off the board was more important. And next turn we have access to both of our creatures, so we can get rid of a Stormlord and play the Archon. The Archon is really what we need to be stifling the Storm deck. They can only play one spell each turn, so they cannot storm off. They could have Lightning Bolt as well as any other number of answers to the Archon, but that's not happening this turn. Okay, let's bump this up to 3. And we draw Thalia. Wow. Okay. First thing we're going to do is offer the trade. I'm totally fine if they want to trade the Apparition for the Stormlord and get a 2/2 token. And nope, they don't. Not surprised. So the Thalia here is super good, and the Archon is super good. I think I want to play Skyclave Apparition and then play the Archon. And then we'll hold the Thalia back for our next turn. Oops, cancel that. I want to activate the vial. There we go. Now, an option I would have had, I could have waited until the opponent's turn, and when they cast their first spell, I could have put this into play, and that might have been better. This is a problem that we had to, that we knew was a possibility. They could absolutely have Lightning Bolt, and now they have a Brawl, and we have nothing to do. We can attack, though, so that's fine. We will not be putting any more triggers on Aether Vial, and we get another Skyclave Apparition. How lucky is that? Let's get the Stormlord off the table. Our opponent's probably feeling a little bit frustrated at this point. We'll attack for 4 and put Thalia on the board. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Storm opponent. What are you going to do? They probably have something really good here. What are they going to do? Lightning Bolt on Thalia. Yep. That makes sense. We still have 6 power on the board here. These apparitions are so good. The fact that the opponent only gets a token back instead of the creature that they lost, it's incredible. Okay, let's see what we get. We get Winds of Abandon. That's nothing for us right now. So let's attack for 6 and pass back. Not going to bother with Field of Ruin here. Okay, Lightning Bolt, so they'll get a 2/2 back. We could use Wings of Abandon to clear it off the board. Oh, this is interesting. What do you have now? Oh, empty the Warrens. So we're going to want to save up our mana so that we can get all these creatures off the board. In the meantime, we're just going to be sitting back. The opponent has one card in hand, so we're both going to be in top deck mode. And we get another Rest in Peace. That's not what we're looking for, but we'll go ahead and put it into play. Echoing Truth would get rid of both, but if they have one of the other cards, it only puts one up, then that's no problem. I don't think they'll be attacking here. Okay, yeah, the illusion attack makes sense. No blocks. Okay, let's see what we draw. We get Silent Clearing. So this costs 6 mana. So we have to consider, do we want to keep the Silent Clearing as a land for the Winds of Abandon, or do we want to draw a card with it? Winds of Abandon seems very attractive, but if they have Remand or another counterspell, then we just trade all of our turn for basically nothing. So let's draw a card and see what we get, and maybe we can put it into play with Aether Vial. We just get plains. Okay. Okay, we get another Skyclave Apparition. So we can put that into play with the Aether Vial. We do not want to attack. We'll just give them more 2/2s that way. We could get rid of the illusion, but it's not much of a clock. Okay, we'll just take our turn. And we get a Thalia, so we'll put that in play. That attacks and blocks very nicely, and we'll pass. Don't think they'll be attacking in with the illusion anymore unless they have an answer. And we're taxing them on their mana. Fantastic. No more attacks? Okay. See what we draw. We get a Shefet Dunes. So we can make our creatures into 3/2s and 3/1s. I think the attacks would still be bad in that case. Let's pass, and if we get one more land, we can use Winds of Abandon. Now, something we might want to consider as well is to put the Skyclave Apparition, get rid of the illusion, end of turn, and then we can Shefet Dunes and attack with a bunch of 3s when they only have these little 6/6s left, or 6/1/1s left. Okay, get rid of their token. Oh, it says non-token, huh? Okay, that's my bad. First time playing with the deck, we will make these kinds of mistakes. We really wanted a land there. Aether Vial is garbage. So we can make these creatures into 3/2s and 3/1s. Or actually it would be 3/3s. So they could block Illusion plus Goblin, and then 1, 2, 3 Goblins. I think that's lethal if they try and block that way, but they do have a bunch of cards in hand. Well, let's See what happens. We're going to go ahead and use the dunes. And attack. I think they have to take bad trades here, but I could be wrong. They have to put a lot of blockers on Thalia to kill it. Those blockers don't kill Thalia. Those blockers do. Okay. So we can kill the illusion and 2 goblins. Yeah, that's how we want to order it. Okay. We do lose the Thalia, but we took care of most of their board. And they don't have great blocks moving forward, especially if I start attacking with this apparition. By itself, they wouldn't be able to block it and get an illusion back. Okay, here's a Baral, so that's something we're going to target with the winds. But they probably have Counterspell in hand. Remand wouldn't be too bad because we can play the winds twice. Oh, okay. They're going for Manamorphose here. They might be going for it. It's going to be hard to do with the Rest in Peace in play, but it is possible. Just would have expected them to wait for next turn, but this is what it is. Okay, here's a ritual. So they're going for maximum mana. They've got quite a storm count. Here's Past in Flames, just for a more storm count. They're going to Grape Shot. They're going to kill our dudes. Okay. That's going to give them illusions. So that's pretty good for them. Okay, surprised they didn't put the last one at us. Let's see what we draw. We get another Aether Vial. Bogus. Okay, so I think I want to use the winds on the Jiva Compliance. Get it off the board. They do have 0 cards in hand, though. I'm wondering if I want to continue trying to draw those last 2 lands just to get everything off the table. Okay, they have another land. So we're taking 5, 6, 7 here. Okay, so we are going to have to use the Winds of Abandon. We're not going to have time. Even if we draw a land, we're just dead. And we get Ghost Quarter. Okay, so we can Winds, get 1 creature off the board, and then what? Yeah, that Shefet Dunes was the bad play. I should have just held up Winds, I guess. 1 mana off, so we could get rid of an illusion, and then we would go to 2. And there would just be too many threats for us to do anything, so we've lost this game. We're going to concede. Our hand doesn't seem very good here. We have 4 lands, Aether Vial, Stoneforge Mystic, and we have equipment in hand. Not a big fan of this. I'm going to mulligan. This is better, I think. We'll throw the Shefet Dunes away and keep the Arbiter. Windswept Heath is what our opponent has put down. We'll play Giver of Ruins and pass. Next turn, Leonin Arbiter. Okay, so they go get an Overgrown Tomb with the Windswept Heath. Don't see too many Overgrown Tombs nowadays. And a Temple Garden, so this is junk. Vizier of Remedies. Okay, so this is probably the Devoted Druid combo. So, Devoted Druid combo would give Unbound mana to the opponent, but they won't be able to do it on this turn coming. So I think that it's fine to play the Arbiter. We could also play the Thalia, but that would increase the cost of our path and doesn't combo well with it. So we'll play the Arbiter here. And I think we'll just go ahead and pass so that we can keep protection up for the Arbiter with the Giver. Okay, here's a Heliod. That's something we can get rid of with our Skyclave Apparition, but we need to draw land in order to do it. Hey, we do. Okay. So we can just get that off the board, and we can attack for 2. Let's pass. We've got tons of removal here in our hand. Still got Path to Exile and another Skyclave Apparition. Okay, they do not attack. They have no fetch lands up currently. I would like to play the Thalia Path to Exile maybe. Probably Giver of Ruins Path to Exile. If I play the Thalia, I don't have the option to path. I can attack here, but if they have Collected Company, I could get blown out. So maybe I should have played Thalia pre-combat. Okay, we can protect one of these creatures if they have Collected Company here. And they do. So they get a pair of Kitchen Finks. So we're going to be able to Path to Exile one of these. Okay, we'll give this protection from green. And then we'll play Thalia. Okay, so that is going to combo with the Vizier. Unfortunately, we do not have an answer for that. We'll just play the Thalia and hope that they can't kill us, or rather gain unbound life on their turn. If they have a Phyrexian, they can go unbound here. Eternal Witness, I'm sure we'll be getting back Collected Company. It does. Okay, we get Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think we want to play the Skyclave Apparition. I think we want Stoneforge Mystic here. Okay, and we cannot search because of the Arbiter. We forgot about that. Okay, we can attack with Thalia, and if they block, we can give it protection from certain colors. So here we give it protection from green. Which one do we want to kill first? Probably the Eternal Witness, and we'll get rid of the Kitchen Finks later with the Apparition. Okay, so they need land here in order to cast their Collected Company, and it cannot be a fetch land. They can fetch if they pay mana, but they can't do both. Okay, here's another Kitchen Finks. We get land. So we should have definitely waited on that Stoneforge Mystic. Let's use the Apparition. Get rid of one of their Kitchen Finks. Or we could get rid of their Vizier. The Vizier is their combo piece. Let's get that off the board here. And then we can attack with Thalia. Okay, they'll take 2, and we'll play the other Giver of Ruins. We can start attacking through their things with the Givers. But their life total is still very healthy, and they have a ton of cards in hand. Okay, now they can activate Gavany. They have access to Collected Company. And we get Flickerwisp. Okay. So we could Flickerwisp the Apparition and get rid of one of their Kitchen Finks. We can no longer attack through their Kitchen Finks with the Township. But we could give the Thalia Pro Green and just try and attack through. Okay, they do not use the Collected Company here. I think I want to go ahead and use the Flickerwisp and get rid of this Apparition, and we'll see what they do. This gives them a 2/2 instead of a 3/3 from this one. Okay, we'll get rid of one of their Kitchen Finks. And they're going to Collected Company. They get a Ranger and a Noble Hierarch. And what does Ranger get them? Maybe a Walking Ballista? That would be quite good on this board. Oh, they couldn't search for anything because of the Leonin Arbiter. Well, that's good. Again, I am quite new to this deck. This is my first league playing Death and Taxes, so I'm still getting used to all the interactions. We could give Thalia Pro White, and then it could only be blocked with the Illusion and the Hierarch, although it looks like something green is coming down now. Okay, no, they're ignoring the effect of Arbiter, so I think they're going to Court of Calling for something. No, this is Finale of Devastation for 1. Finale for 1. I guess that's all they could do. So now they have a Carrion Feeder, which can sacrifice the Kitchen Finks over and over and over again if they get another Vizier of Remedies. Okay, I don't think there's anything else I can do. I can block the Carrion Feeder, but that's not something I can do to win. If they gain infinite life, then the game is over. Okay, we get another Thalia. That's no good. Let's draw a card. We get another Skyclave Apparition. That's good, but we don't have the mana to cast it right now. We could give Thalia Pro White, and then they could only block it with the Illusion. Oh, I should have attacked with Flickerwisp as well. I'm such a fool. It has flying. It's evasive. Okay, that's my bad. I should have hit them for 5 instead of just 2. Okay, moving on. Okay, I cannot cast non-creature spells. Okay, they have Vizier, so that's infinite life. We're going to concede to that. Okay, we're going to bring in Rest in Peace. That's going to stop their one of their infinite life combos. Phyrexian Revoker will stop the other one. Aven Mindcensor will stop them from searching. But Leonin Arbiter does a fantastic job of that as well. Do we need the Mindcensors as well? We can take out the Archon. The Giver of Ruins isn't very important. And we can take out 1 Thalia. Okay, we'll play like this. Okay, we have Answers, and Flickerwisp Apparition is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and keep this. It could be wrong. I should probably be looking for an Aether Vial hand. This hand is very slow. Okay, there's the Aether Vial. So we can play that and hold up Path to Exile. We're going to want to path something like Kitchen Finks. Okay, here's a Giver of Ruins. What else do you got? And a Scavenging Ooze. Okay. So we could use the Apparition to take the Ooze off the board and hold up Path for later. We can Flickerwisp the Apparition, get the Giver off the board. Okay. And we get a Revoker. Okay, that's good. So we'll play land. Our choices are to play Revoker and Path, or to play Apparition. I like playing the Apparition. We'll take probably the Giver off the board, and then we'll have more options what to do later with a Flickerwisp. The Scavenging Ooze is going to start crashing in for a lot of damage, but we have to get the Giver off the board anyways. And Scavenging Ooze is not their combo. So let's go with this for now, and we can get the Scavenging Ooze off the board later with the Flickerwisp Apparition. But they'll probably present a more attractive target. Here's a Heliod, so we can get that off the board instead. And use Path to get rid of the Scavenging Ooze if we have to. No blocks. Okay, we'll take our turn. This will let us put the Revoker into play, or the Stoneforge Mystic. Fantastic. We're going to attack first, and then we'll flicker the Apparition. Okay. Now we can wait on the Path and the Stoneforge Mystic here. So we're just going to go ahead and pass. And get the Heliod off the board. Okay, here's a Knight of Autumn, so that can get rid of the Aether Vial. But let's get them to make that choice before we activate the Vial. Okay, so we will activate it and put the Stoneforge Mystic into play. And I think I would like to get the thing that makes our dudes fly. This is fine. We can take 3. Okay, we get another path. So we're going to hold up the 2 paths, and we'll put the Maul into play. And we'll attach it to the Apparition. Okay, so we'll be attacking for big damage in the air now. Take 7. Okay, so we could put Revoker down on Walking Ballista, because if they get Ballista, they could... Well, they couldn't kill the Apparition, so I think that's fine, actually. Let's just pass, and we'll hold up the 2 Path to Exiles. Hey, our opponent's conceded. Okay. So we can move on to Game 3. Now, there is some consideration to Winds of Abandon. I would like to be able to sweep all their creatures off the board, and I think that that would be game-breaking if it actually resolved. They don't play counterspells, so I think that there's definitely a space for these cards in the deck. Just not quite sure where. Maybe instead of the Mindcensors. We'll put those in, especially on the draw. Okay, so we have Rest in Peace, Stoneforge Mystic, and Arbiters. We can keep this. We get Aether Vial off the top. Lucky. Next turn, we're going to be looking at playing Arbiter. But that depends a lot on what the opponent plays here. I think we're going to be holding the Rest in Peace in hand for a couple turns. Okay, Devoted Druid. So they can get Unbound Mana next turn. Which means the Leonin Arbiter isn't going to be very good if they have the thing in hand. But we get Path to Exile off the top. So we can go ahead and take care of the Devoted Druid on their upkeep. We might actually want to take care of it now, because if they untap, they'll have access to 4 mana on their upkeep with the Devoted Druid. A little bit awkward, no matter which way you think about it. It would be nice to play an Arbiter first, but there's too much risk that they could just win the game here. So we're going to get that card off the field, even though it means ramping them. Okay, so they probably have Collected Company here. We're going to want to play Rest in Peace. Definitely tick that up. Okay, we get Plains, so we'll play the Rest in Peace. And then we'll wait and see what they do, and we can respawn to something with an Arbiter or a Stoneforge Mystic. I assume they're going to play Collected Company here. Okay, they get Devoted Druid and Bird of Paradise. So they have access to lots of mana. There's a Thoughtseize. So we could play the Stoneforge Mystic down, but then they would be able to Thoughtseize the equipment out of our hand. So I think we just say okay, and we'll put a Leonin Arbiter down. Okay, so that's unbound mana. We'll do this because it's the only thing we can do, and our opponent knows that. So we'll just hit 6 and see what our opponent can do. If they go ahead and find something that lets them use their mana, then we're just going to concede. But they don't have that, so we get to continue playing. I think we leave this at 2. If we get a 3-drop, we can just play it. Okay, we get the Maul of the Skyclaves, so we can put that onto the Arbiter and start attacking. And then we can put another Arbiter onto the field as a blocker. I think we win this race, but again, they have unbound mana. So they can do whatever they want. The Leonin Arbiter ability is only going to catch them if they forget about it. Here's a Kitchen Finks. But we have Rest in Peace, so that doesn't do very much. Just gains them a bit of life. That is an extra turn on the clock, however. Yeah, that's fine. We're not going to block that this turn. And we'll put Arbiter into play. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and tick that up to 3 now. Okay, we get another Rest in Peace, which is basically a nothing. We can attack with our 4/4, and they can block. But they can only block once. Okay, no blocks this turn. We'll play another blocker ourselves with the second Arbiter, and pass the turn back. So they can attack with Kitchen Finks here and start attacking for 4. Okay, Carrion Feeder, but with the Rest in Peace on the board, the Kitchen Finks is gone forever. They might have forgot that that was going to happen. I think that they were excited to win the game and didn't realize that they were going to lose the Kitchen Finks forever. Okay, we get Stoneforge Mystic. So we cannot do that because of the Arbiters. But it is another blocker. We'll attack with the Sky Arbiter. And then play a second Rest in Peace, I think. So that way they cannot answer one of them with one card. They'll need to answer both. But I think with their having so few cards in hand, that's fine regardless. No attacks. That's good for us. Okay, we will put no tokens on that, and we find another Stoneforge Mystic. Attack for 4 in the air. They can block. They choose to. I'm going to go ahead and play one of these Stoneforge Mystics just as an extra blocker, but it can also put an equipment that we draw into the battlefield, so that could be quite good. If we draw Batterskull naturally, Okay, so it looks like they have nothing here. Okay, we get planes. We will play planes, and we'll attack for 4 in the air. Almost there. And we'll pass. We could play the Mystic out as another blocker. I don't think that's quite necessary. If they want to start attacking, that's fine. Okay, we get Revoker this time. So we could revoke any one of the cards that they have here, but I think we actually want to put Revoker on Walking Ballista. If they put a Walking Ballista onto the board, they could, let's see here, they would just kill us. So I think that that's the thing to name. Now they could make a infinitely large Walking Ballista, but if they do that, then they're going to take 8 damage. So I think if we name Walking Ballista with Revoker, we probably win the game. Walking Ballista. And we'll pass. I think our opponent will be conceding in a moment. Nope, they got Path to Exile. Okay. And we have enough mana to switch the equipment over. Okay, we lose something. Probably Path to Exile. Stoneforge Mystic, okay. They let us keep our path. That's nice of them. And we draw Skyclave. Very nice. Okay, Thoughtseize. Don't know what they'll be taking here. Maybe the Thalia, maybe the Apparition. They take the Thalia, so that's our turn 2 play. And they're Jund. Okay. So they're probably going to be playing Liliana, but there's nothing we can do about that. Our hand starts to look like total garbage at this point because they took out both of our 2-drops. But if they play Liliana, we can get rid of it with Skyclave Apparition. We can just discard probably Path to Exile. Maybe the Flickerwisp. I think Path. We get rid of the Path because then we can Flicker Apparition. They might they might make a sacrifice here, which I think is slightly better. Okay, what do we draw? We draw Arbiter. Okay. So we could play Arbiter and hold up Path to Exile. But that loses to Removal Spell. I think I still want to play the Skyclave Apparition. Just get the Liliana off the board. The card is very strong, so we'll just get rid of it. Okay, it looks like they're passing here. Probably holding up removal spells. And we get Aether Vial. So we're going to play Aether Vial Arbiter. We'll attack first. This might bring a removal spell out. Here it comes. So they get a 3/3 for that. And we'll play Aether Vial and Arbiter. Okay, do they have another lightning bolt? They do. We are nearly out of resources. And they are not drawing lands. That's fine. Okay, depending on what we draw here, we can Flickerwisp. We could Flickerwisp their illusion, and that would just get rid of it. That seems like a good play. We draw Batterskull. Well, we can't do anything with that. Let's put Flickerwisp into play and we'll get rid of the illusion. Very clean answer, that. They probably have an answer for the Flickerwisp as well. What is this? Colligan's command? Probably discard the Batterskull. 2 damage and discard a card. I think I keep the path, discard the Batterskull. I don't have any way to get the Batterskull onto the board here. That could be the wrong move, but we're okay with making mistakes. I don't have very much experience with Death and Taxes. It's the only way we'll learn. Okay, we do have an answer for Scavenging Ooze. Let's see if we can draw an Arbiter so that we don't give them a land. Okay, we get Apparition instead. Don't mind hitting the Skoos with an Apparition, so let's go ahead and do that. Get that off the board, and keep on moving. Scavenging Ooze would have grown quite large quite quickly, so it's good we got that out of here. They have 3 cards in hand and still haven't played a land, so they probably have removal. Do we want to put that up to 3? I think so. Yes, let's put that up to 3 in case we draw Flickerwisp. We get Skyclave Apparition. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and attack. We have Path for their Raging Ravine and Apparition for whatever comes next. We'll go ahead and get a Plains, and they'll get a 2/2. No blocks, no effects. Okay, we'll take our turn. No more tokens on the Aether Vial, thank you. And we get Ghost Quarter. That's excellent. So we can Ghost Quarter their Raging Ravine, if that ever becomes a thing. Pass. Okay, what do we have here? A Ren and 6. Okay, we can get rid of that with the Apparition. And they have no lands in the graveyard, so that's not going to be gaining any advantage that way. Let's get rid of Ren and 6. And we can also attack for 2. Okay, another Plains, unfortunate. Might as well play it out. Definitely would like that Batterskull back, please. Okay, here's a Liliana. That'll get rid of the Skyclave Apparition, giving them another 2/2 token. And we get another apparition. Okay, well, we might as well play it, right? Get the Liliana off the board and pass. So they finally found another land, which means they're going to be able to start deploying Bloodbraid Elf. There it is. With an Assassin's Trophy to get rid of our Apparition. So this is looking pretty hopeless at this point. Let's see what we draw, but I'm pretty sure that we're out of the game here. They're going to be attacking us for 7, putting us to 4. So we're going to need Winds of Abandon. Which is a sideboard card. Okay, we got Sunbaked Canyon. We'll go ahead and draw a card. We get Arbiter, so we'll concede. Right? We block the elf, and we path one of their tokens, and they still have 4. So yeah, we'll concede. Okay, so how are we going to face Jund? We're going to want Mirran Crusader and Winds of Abandon to take care of their creatures. And that's pretty much it. We could bring in Forge-Tender to stop their lightning bolts, or Phyrexian Revoker to stop their Liliana, but I don't think that's quite good enough, considering what we want to be doing. Thalia is quite good. Giver of Ruins is quite good. Leonin Arbiter is okay. They're going to be playing quite a few fetch lands. Archon of Emeria, not too great. They're going to generally be playing 1 spell a turn. So I need to take out 2 more cards if I want to keep the Winds of Abandon. I definitely want to keep the Crusaders. There's no doubt about that. Maybe I take out the Flickerwisps because they die to Wrenn and 6. I want to keep the Thalias. Maybe I should have taken out 1 and 1. Okay, we keep this. It has a Mirran Crusader in it. But really, not a very good hand. We might regret keeping this. Start with the plains and pass. Okay, no Seal of Fire. I don't think this deck would be playing Seal of Fire. They don't play Aluris. See if we draw a 2-drop. We do. So we'll play the Arbiter. They'll go ahead and respond by fetching with Bloodstained Mire. And maybe we'll see a removal spell for the Arbiter immediately, maybe not. Blood Crypt untapped signals a removal spell, so they'll probably have... Oh no, they're cycling Barrenmore. Okay. Pass on, and next turn we'll play Mirran Crusader. Okay, untapped Overgrown Tomb. This looks like a Wrenn and 6. Okay, they're just passing, so they're holding up a removal spell. And we get Aether Vial quite late. Let's start with an attack from the Arbiter. Okay, and then we'll play Mirran Crusader. And hope their removal spell isn't a Lightning Bolt. If it was Lightning Bolt, I'm sure they would have put the Overgrown Tomb into play tapped, so it's probably an Abrupt Decay or Assassin's Trophy, and it turned out to be nothing. That is shocking. Figured for sure they would have had something there the way they played their lands. Double black for Collective Brutality. Okay. And they're only killing the Arbiter with this, so they probably have fetch land. Oh, no, it's just a Raging Ravine. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't quite have enough mana to play this and equip it this turn. But we can attack in for 4 damage, and then we can play sort of Fire and Ice and Aether Vial. And if they don't have the Lightning Bolt this turn, then they're in a ton of trouble. Because we'll be putting Sophie onto the Mirran Crusader, and that is bad news bears for the opponent. Looks like they have Liliana, so that is an answer. Okay. Let's see what we can draw off the top. We are in a pretty precarious situation here. And we draw Thalia. Well, that is a thing. So we can play the Thalia and put the sword onto it, as well as hold up Ghost Quarter. Okay, we'll pass. We'll lose the Winds of Abandon to Liliana, but I think that's fine. We need a threat, and Thalia is a threat. Again, they need certain answers for it. Wrenn and 6 won't do it. Tarmogoyf would be quite good. But we have, well, they would make us discard Winds of Abandon, so we don't have that. Okay, so we will discard Winds. So if the Thalia deals damage to the opponent, we can use the Sophie to kill Liliana. But it looks like they have something here. Maybe they just tapped their mana wrong and they wanted to play a Bloodbraid Elf. Okay, looks like it's coming back to our turn. We have Ghost Quarter to get rid of their Raging Ravine. I think Raging Ravine is red anyways, so it wouldn't be able to block. Yeah, it is red. I'm excited to know what this is. Colligan's command to destroy Sophie, and I discard a card. Really? Why wouldn't you do that on my draw step then? Okay. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. And I draw a castle, so we'll play that. And then I would like to draw a card, please. I get Flickerwisp. Okay. So I'll attack the Liliana. Get that off the board. And then I would like to play the Flickerwisp because I would like some potential. I want a clock. Maybe I should have used the Sunbaked Canyon there instead. I can flicker the Ghost Quarter. And then that way I can get rid of the Raging Ravine if I need to, or I can draw a card with Sunbaked Canyon, end of turn. Okay, here's a Renin 6, which can get rid of either of these cards. But if it does that, then it will die to either of these cards. Okay, Tarmogoyf is quite good here. So we're going to be looking to draw a card and hoping for a Path to Exile. Or a Skyclave Apparition would be fine as well. Either way, that would get rid of the Renin 6, which I think is quite necessary at this point. Do we hit? We do not. We miss. So that's basically a GG. I cannot attack. The Renin 6 will kill my Thalia, and they can start attacking me for 6. We do have the castle to save the Thalia, so that is a thing. Okay, so they see that we have the castle, and they aren't going to target our Thalia with the Renin 6. And they have a Huntmaster of the Fells. Okay, so that's going to be pretty good for them. So it's looking like game over at this point. We really needed to draw a removal spell that last turn so we could get rid of the Renin 6. Now we're too far behind. So we're going to see what we draw here and then concede. So we get Maul the Skyclaves. So Maul is going to let us kill the Renin 6. Or we could use the Maul and attack them. And then they would be close to death. But they have 6. They have enough left over to kill us on the crackback. This doesn't give lifelink, right? No. So we could hit them for 4, put them to 4, but then they're going to attack us for 12, so we're dead. We could hold this back as a blocker. I think that would be the best thing. I mean, if we attack, we just die. So we'll hold it back. But at this point, they can just slow roll and attack with the Tarmogoyf and pass, attack with the Tarmogoyf and pass. So there really is nowhere for us to go. Let's just wait and see what they have in store for us here. Maybe a Terminate. Here's a Fatal Push. All right. GG opponent. So we ended up going 3-2 with our first run with Death and Taxes. Not too bad. Going to just switch screens here and we'll take a look at the deck. So this is the deck that I was playing. Found it on MtG Goldfish and went from there. I wanted to play some Death and Taxes this week. So here it is. Going to be playing Pauper tomorrow and Thursday. And we're going to be playing Elves. So if this list interests you, this is what I'll be playing on Tuesday and Thursday, and then I'll be playing Death and Taxes on Wednesday and Friday. Alright, well thank you very much for stopping by and checking out my stream, and if you like, you can check out all of my leagues on YouTube. Just search for Cooper the Red and you'll find a ferret face, and that'll be my channel, or you can find the link to it in my bio. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.